Obviously excited about the game on Saturday. I've heard about it from the moment that I got the job back in late March and early April, and it's a it's a rivalry game. Obviously, our guys are excited to play. You can tell there's a little bit more of a pep in their step in practice. I thought we've been really good the last 2 days. We just finished up here before I came over. Thought today we were even better than yesterday. So guys are pretty locked in right now. Obviously we're playing a great basketball team. You look at their size. I think that's the thing that concerns you the most. You look at that rebound margin, which is third in the country. Their depth now with adding Jabari Brown here this week, where they've got 10 guys that played the other night in the game, double-digit minutes. They're really talented. And then obviously it starts with Pressey. I think Pressey reminds me a lot of his tendencies. His vision reminds me a lot of the kid that I coached at Ohio, Cooper, who could put balls on time, on target, and you watch him on film and you're like, how did he see that? He's got great vision, got a lot of respect for him as a player. I've known Frank for a long time. I know his kids will be ready to play. Obviously, he did a terrific job last year and has done a good job molding a lot of new faces. As I watch him, there's really only one guy in Pressey who played in last year's bragging rights game. Bowers did 2 years ago, but the rest of those guys are new guys, and I've enjoyed watching them. They're very good. They're very talented, and it's going to take a heck of an effort on our part to compete on Saturday.
You guys do have a lot of experience playing together. These guys, Missouri's trying to get together and find their rotation. Is that an advantage for you guys going in?
Well, we'll find out. I can see them getting a little bit better every game as we've watched all their games. As I said, I think Frank's done a great job of molding a lot of new faces and has done a great job with his ball club. And, I think that, obviously one of the things that we have is some experience in terms of playing in the rivalry game. What does that get you after a few minutes and you've adjusted to the excitement level, the atmosphere, in the game? I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to execution, and a lot of it comes down to players making plays. And so I know that, we've had some great wins so far. They have as well. And you take a look at those games and you see players making plays. And so he's got some guys out there that can do that. We have some guys out there that can do that. And I think in many ways, Jeremy, to be honest with you, it'll come down to that, as simple as that sounds.
You said you've heard about this game since the moment you got here. People giving you advice about it, tell you what it's like, what to expect down there?
No, but my wife told me that today in the newspaper a lot of people had advice, which was good. She said it was really good. I typically don't read it in season, but she encouraged me. She said, I'm going to leave it out for you when you get home. She thought it was a pretty cool piece that was done today. So I'll take a look at that. But, the one thing is, again, I can't emphasize it enough. The atmosphere, everybody's told me, is going to be electric. I'm looking forward to that. But after about 4 or 5 minutes, Frank's going to coach his team. I'm going to coach my team. They're going to try to execute. We're going to try to execute. I'm sure both teams, it's one of those games where, and being in rivalry games in the past, Marcus, you don't have to worry about guys being amped up. Sometimes you have to worry about them maybe being too amped up or a little over anxious or excited, but you'd rather it be that way. I'm sure both teams, their players will have their motors running. So a lot of it, again, is going to come down to execution and players making plays.
Do you have any particular concerns about their big people, and do you have to make changes defensively to prepare for Bowers and the guy whose name I can't pronounce?
Oriaki, who has a national championship ring. Obviously I'm concerned about their size. The biggest thing is the rebounding, Lauren. That's what I'm most concerned about when it comes to their size. And then obviously those guys can post the ball. Bowers can shoot the ball, deck the ball. I mean, they've got talent and they've got size. There's no question about it. We've got to do a great job of doing what we do. And we've got to block out well, and we got to be willing to hit people when the shot goes up, and we've got to snatch our fair share. I think that's a big key to the game.
Your seniors have not won this game. Have you heard them talking about it, Brandon, about some emergency?
I heard them talking about it. They've talked about it in a couple press conferences here recently, and they're aware of that. But the one thing I will say, Mark, is that regardless of what their record is previously, I got news for them. It ain't changing. It has really no effect on Saturday night's game. This is a separate game than the other three that they've played. So it comes down once again to locking in and focusing in on our game plan and being ready to go and executing and making plays and being tough and being able mentally to deal with, I call it dealing. They got to be able to deal with the cards that are dealt with them each possession, whether that's adversity cards or, success and feel-good cards. You've got to be able to deal with those cards. I think the team that does the best job of that also will, have a huge advantage. So we've got to make sure that mentally we're tuned in, mentally we're tough, and that we're able to deal with anything that's thrown at us.
Tyler especially, is he up for this game?
I'm sure he's excited. Yeah, excited to go back home. What kid wouldn't be? I don't think, again, we could say ask all kinds of questions about how excited, where your guys' mindset. They're excited. I mean, they should be. This is fun. I mean, this is the rivalry kind of embraces a lot of what college basketball is supposed to be about. These guys, when you grow up and you get a chance to play at such a special place like the University of Illinois, you dream of playing in games like this. So Tyler's very excited. Our team's very excited.
I'm interested to hear you say this because every coach says the same thing. What a great game this is. Why don't we have more of them? Why doesn't Illinois play more games like this in November and December?
Give me examples, Lauren.
Games at home, for instance, against major rivals.
Other than Missouri, who else? Give me I'd be curious to get your thoughts here. I don't know where you're going with that. What do you mean by, give me another?
North Carolina.
I mean, we have the ACC Big Ten Challenge. We have the United Center game every year. We have the United Center return game every year. We have the Missouri game every year, and we have 18 Big Ten Conference games. You know what I'm going to say on that. That's just my theory on it. If you look at, I think scheduling's really, really important. I think getting home games are important. We've got to balance all that. But you look at teams for the most part, then I think that are doing it at a pretty high level right now. Most of them, maybe not all, you might be able to bring me one or two, but most of them have some balance in what they do. It's not they're not playing 15 Missouri games and 18 BCS Power games. They're not. So we've got to balance that. I think each year's different too, Lauren. I think it depends on your team. How young are you? Are you an older team? What type of experience do you have? I think those things are also going to play in scheduling. But I like our schedule. Brandon told me yesterday, I don't know if he's right or wrong, Brandon's my special assistant to head coach, that we're one of teams in the top 25 that have played 3 top 100 RPI teams. We're one of 2. So I got no problem with our schedule. I think our schedule's been really, really good.
That you guys, because of the teams that you've played and the experiences that you've had, that maybe you're a little more battle tested?
Well, I hope we're battle tested. I mean, obviously we've played, we've played 2 true road games in 2 really tough environments with great crowds. We've had the Maui tournament against really good competition, which was good for us. We've had the ACC Big Ten Challenge game here. We've had to prepare for different styles, maybe more so than any team I've coached as an assistant or head coach. We were talking about the other day as a staff. I mean, we've seen just about everything, in terms of a lot of zone presses, full court man, running and jumping, trapping, man, switching. We've seen all kinds of stuff through the 12 games, which has been great because it's helped us prepare for about anything that an opponent can throw at us. So I hope that the experiences that we've had through the 12 games, have prepared us for this opportunity on Saturday.
You got that win on the road against Gonzaga. Can you talk about how it felt different leading up to that game than it does to this game now that you guys are where you are?
I don't know. It's a great question. I think our guys were excited to play in that game. I think they're excited to play in Saturday's game. I really can't tell much of a difference, to be honest with you, in our mindset. I think obviously you go out to Gonzaga, and I said this before. You're playing on the West Coast. It's a late night game. We've got all day on that day, and as much as you tell them not to or to do it, they watch TV all day. They saw all the predictions. They listened to the prognosticators. That probably gave them a little more of a chip. So they were ready to play, and they played with great energy and effort. I thought we played with great energy and effort on Sunday. Sunday. We got a little bit careless with the ball. We probably should have played with about 13 or 14 in that game instead of 20 turnovers. They're good at what they do, obviously in turning people over, meaning Eastern Kentucky. But we played hard. We had great effort and energy. I was really, really proud of our effort and the way that we had matured, because I didn't think we had that type of energy in the previous game. So hopefully we're continuing to move forward and be a team that regardless is always ready to play. That's what you want. And I think we have been a large portion of the time, but I'm critical. I'm a perfectionist. I want to be ready all the time. So that's what we're trying to get to. But I don't think that's going to be a problem for Saturday. I mean, we'll be ready to play. We'll be excited to play.
You're a guy who likes to teach and do those kinds of things. Is this time of year good for you where they're out of class and you don't have those distractions? You can just get in the gym and focus on basketball?
Yeah, it is. We still have finals. Today we have Griff has a final. That'll end all of our final exams. Then tomorrow we won't have any. And then we'll get a chance to leave for St. Louis after practicing. But I think that's a good point, Marcus. When it gets to where they've got all ball and they'll have that here for a little while, I think that's good. It gives us a chance to lock in and teach. You're exactly right, and get better and identify things and hone in on them even more. So we'll certainly use that to our advantage.
Do you get the sense that people are still doubting this team? Do you or your players get the sense that people are still waiting for the other shoe to fall?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Sometimes you watch. People like good stories. They like to watch. Giants crash and. David rise, and I don't know. I don't know what some people put on one side of the fence or other. We're just worried about getting better. We want to play well on Saturday. We want to execute our game plan. I don't get caught up in all that stuff because I can't control it. I think as soon as you start worrying about things out of your control, you drive yourself crazy in this business. So I just refuse to do it.
What do they do defensively, John?
Well, I think they use their size. They rebound at a high level. We've already talked about that. They played man and zone. They mix it up a little bit. Sometimes switching, sometimes not. They've been good defensively thus far. So, their size is the biggest thing, Mark.
Is this the biggest challenge defensively for your guards? Are these the best guards you've played?
Best guards we've played this year. They're pretty good. Maybe collection for sure. Like we talked about going into the Gonzaga game, the front line collection, those 4 or 5 guys. You look at Missouri's collection of perimeter players, it's impressive. It might be. It very well might be. I'd have to think through all 12 opponents to this point, but I'd say my gut tells me probably in terms of their collection and the number of guards and perimeters that they have playing at 1, 2, and 3.
I know Jamal was worried about stopping Pressey and how that works. So if we promise not to put it on the internet, can you give us an idea of how, will you be using zone? Is DJ going to?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics, Rob. But I appreciate the question.
Coach, with your offense, your style is this what you want to do long term, like a few years, or is this just what fit this team more?
A little bit of both. We adapt some, but we always want to play with great pace. We want to have great spacing. I don't think that's going to change, John. But, a lot of it's based on your personnel. Obviously we've had some really good guards where I just left, and this year we've got some talented perimeter scorers. About every team that I've ever coached as an assistant and head coach has ran plays or got their best players in position, or an offense to put their best players in position to score. So sometimes you'll say, well, it's a guard system. Well, we're doing some similar things we did to when I was, at Ohio State and Terrence Dials touched the ball. Greg Oden got the ball. We're going to make sure the guys that have a gift to score and a gift in certain areas of the court or a gift in a certain area of the game, it's our job as coaches to put them in the best position to do that. That's our strength right now. I do think that we've started to drive the ball a little bit more to complement our shooting, our perimeter shooting. I think that's important moving forward, that we do have both and that we continue to get more of that. I think Brandon and Joe, even Tracy has started to drive the ball. Even DJ probably a little bit more than some of the clips that the guys have put together for me from last year, a little bit more. So that's good. We got to have that complementing our shooting. But we are a good shooting team. We're not going to, shy away from that. We got to work hard to get good shots, but we've got a lot of good shooters. We'd be foolish not to take advantage of that.
You talked about wanting to see your team get better. What area do you see specifically where you need to kind of go to take it to another level?
I think that offensively, I'd like to see us continue to ball movement and the pace of which we play, not only in transition but half court. I'd like to see us moving at a quicker pace. So we've talked a lot about that. Obviously, we've honed in on taking care of the basketball. The last couple games, I thought we had some of them that were unforced, not all of them, but some of them. We want to shore that up. Defensively, we've got to rebound better moving forward. I think that's important. And I'd like to continue, although we've done it well at times, I'd like to get more consistency in defending the three-point line. I think that's important. So we're trying to work all those areas and attack them and get better, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Seems like DJ and Tyler have both driven the lane more than any of us have seen in the last 3 years. Is it because they're breaking old habits? Is it something about the coaching?
No, I think it's the fact that they're being encouraged to do that. It's the fact that we've got a system that has guys out there. We got a lot of guys out there that can shoot, so the floor's more open, and they've done a good job of taking advantage of that. I think that's probably the biggest reason why you've seen that more, Rob.
Have any questions from the phone lines for Coach Groce?
Coach, Steve Porter from Alton. From talking with people about this game, what have you gleaned about the nature of it, and do you have anything in your portfolio that sort of compares with it?
Obviously you're in, rivalry games if you're in it long enough. I don't know if necessarily any compare to this one because of the atmosphere and the way it's set up with, half Missouri fans, half, Illinois fans. Like the crosstown shootout when I was at Xavier, I think that game was played last night. That was a little bit different. That was a hostile environment if you were on the road. Obviously, it was an electric, encouraging environment if you were at home because that series was played home and away. When I was at Ohio, we had the brick rivalry against Miami of Ohio, which was, I think, like one of the top 10 longest in the history of college basketball. I know last year when we played them, there was 13 to 14,000 for that game. So I've been in them, but I think what makes this one unique is the fact that it is split right down the middle, and that, both teams are supported. Fans of both Missouri and Illinois are there, right down the middle, half and half, sold out. I think it makes it very unique and a really special event.
More questions from the phone lines?